Well, personally, I don't feel the campus provides enough security for pedestrians here on campus. Our sidewalks are fairly narrow, which makes me as a pedestrian really kind of nervous whenever there's bicyclists around because there's a lot of students walking to and from class.
I do not think the school provides enough protection against the bicyclists because they're always where we're walking. And I do worry about getting hit by them because I've almost been hit by them at least 3 times.
And I've actually been hit a couple times and it's not fun.
There's always room for improvement. Some of our sidewalks are definitely wider than others, and most places where the sidewalks aren't very wide, there's adjacent roads with bike lanes for the bicyclists to ride. So there's a few areas on campus where there are definitely pinch points, but for the most part, we are always working to improve the experience for pedestrians. No, there's no physical signage talking about the rules of the road. Yes, it's on the UK Transportation Services website.
Right.
No.
No, I don't think so.
No, not at all.
As a pedestrian, I don't feel like they give me the right of way. They just zoom around like they're the only one that matters.
I think, pedestrians jaywalk, cyclists ride where they shouldn't, cars break laws all the time. So it's really, in our studies and research, cyclists don't break the rules any more often than any other type of user. It's just that, if you're on 2 feet, then you notice cyclists breaking the rules more than if you're the person breaking the rules. It's a hard thing to manage, but it's definitely noticeable.
Honestly, I don't have too many issues when it comes to biking through campus. I would say that the pedestrians make it pretty difficult. It gets really crowded in certain areas of campus, and there's not any special lanes for me to go where I need to go to get my bike to the bike rack, especially around some of the major classroom buildings. It can get difficult. Yes, honestly, I do get annoyed a little bit just because they really don't make much of an effort to get out of the bike's way, so it makes it really difficult on the biker. I do understand that pedestrians feel like it's their right of way because they're on the sidewalk, but there's nowhere else for me to be really. They can get annoying, but I will say I don't really blame them for it. It's kind of out of their control.
I personally do, yes.
People will look at their phones and you see like the little things on the sidewalk and they're like, pay attention to the road and stuff. So I think like people will hear you coming and they're like, they'll step aside. Like you'll be able to get around sometimes, but there's people that'll be listening to music and stuff. And sometimes you gotta like, I don't have a bell on my bike, so I just like intend for them to stay where they are and I'll just go around them.
I'm on my phone almost every single time I'm walking. Whether it be from a far building or a very close building, I'm always looking at my phone. I do. I've ran into a couple things a couple times, but I guess I'm more aware of others than myself. So like I'm kind of more cautious to not run into someone, but I'd rather run into like a pole. me, especially with people on scooters and bikes, just because they take up so much space and they're moving so quickly that a pedestrian versus a bicyclist can definitely cause some chain reactions.
For better cooperation, I would say that both will have to be more aware of their surroundings. Like, for example, I think the cyclists should be aware of like their surroundings when they're riding, because like the pedestrians most of the time have the right of the way. So, you know, the cyclist has to pay a lot of attention to their surroundings so they don't like end up hitting someone or something. I would also say that if there's a lot of people, that the cyclists should try not to ride, because even if they're like maintaining like great attention levels, it's really hard to ride when there's a lot of people. So I would say that cyclists should try not to ride when there's a massive number of people in a small space. So, you know, that could be a way they cooperate, like, you know, if the cyclists don't ride when there's a lot of people, and if they're riding when there's not that much people, they should be aware, because, you know, that could prevent a whole lot of accidents from happening.
One of the main things pedestrians can do to help the congestion on the paths is to attempt to stay off their phones while walking on campus. Obviously, students often use their phones productively and consciously, like finding directions, looking for certain schoolwork, or finding bus routes, or etc. However, it still creates a precarious situation that accidents are prone to occur in. The pedestrians should increase their awareness of the surroundings they inhabit. It's a highly congested campus with a plethora of different modes of travel, whether it be bikes, e-scooters, or skateboards. The individuals who choose these other ways of transportation are reserved the same rights of the road and should be considered when going on campus. To help the flow, pedestrians should refer to some of the rules that cars follow. For example, it is generally an accepted fact that when traveling, you stay on the right side of the lane. Most people are used to this fact when driving, so it can be helpful to transfer this over to walking on campus. Going off that, students should refrain from making any sudden movements or turns that will slow down the flow of traffic, therefore creating an environment prone to accidents. When you decide to ride a bike or any sort of transportation, whether it be scooters or skateboards, you should be aware of the rules that you have to follow. Biking in itself can be a dangerous thing. The rules expected of them should be imperative to learn in order to create a safe environment for all. Often it isn't even the cyclist's issue when it comes to these accidents. Their awareness of the environment is not necessarily so to protect themselves from making mistakes, but so that they can be aware of pedestrians and their actions to help avoid crashes. The cyclists move at a much faster pace and should be alert to this fact. They should not expect to be moving swiftly when in high-capacity areas of the campus. There are many dismount signs placed around campus informing people of where it is necessary to get off their bicycle and walk due to the amount of people. It's vital that the cyclists follow these rules to avoid any danger. As well, it is important for people riding bikes to try to avoid weaving throughout traffic in order to avoid any necessary accidents.